You're sitting there pissed off, frustrated, looking at your life, your situation, asking, why is this happening to me? Why am I still broke? Where's my success? You work, you grind, you bleed for it, and nothing moves the way you want. And now you're doubting everything. Doubting yourself, doubting your abilities, and the worst part, you're doubting God's plan for you. But let me slap you with the truth. God knows exactly what the fuck he's doing. You don't have what you want right now because you're not ready for it. Yeah, I know that stings. Your ego hates it. You want to believe you're already built for success, that you deserve it today, right now. But that's the difference between winners and losers. Winners understand that the process is the test. The struggle isn't punishment. It's preparation. It's forging you into something stronger, sharper, deadlier. You don't get to skip the pain and claim the prize. You don't get to be king without the war. So stop crying about why it's not here yet. It's not here because you're still soft. You're still weak. And until you embrace the struggle, until you let it shape you into a savage who earns his victories, you'll stay exactly where you are. On your knees, begging for shit you haven't earned. Think about it. You ever see someone win the lottery and go broke in a year? Ever watch some young pump make quick cash in crypto, flex on Instagram for a few months, and then vanish like a ghost? You know why that happens? Because they got success before they were ready. They didn't build the character, the discipline, or the resilience to hold on to it. Easy come, easy go, and God isn't going to hand you something that's going to destroy you. He's not going to let your blessings become your curse. That's why you're still struggling. That's why you haven't hit that big break yet. Because if you got it now, you'd fumble it. You'd drop the bag. Look at your life. Be honest. If millions dropped into your account today, would you even know what to do with it? You think you would. You think you're smart enough. But you're not. You trust the wrong people. Buy dumb shit, blow it on garbage, and within a year, you'd be broken worse off than you are now. Because you didn't earn it. You didn't fight for it. That's why God is making you wait. That's why he's throwing trials at you. Because you need to be strong enough to handle what's coming. You need to be the kind of man who can carry the weight without breaking. Why do you think great warriors go through hell in training? Why do you think soldiers get their asses kicked before they ever see a battlefield? Because if they don't suffer first, they'll crumble when it matters. Without the discipline, they'll fold under pressure. And that's you. You want the easy way. You want the shortcut. But shortcuts lead to dead ends. The only way you survive is by being forged in fire. That's why you're struggling. It's not punishment. It's preparation. It's God making sure when you finally get it, you never lose it. You're in the fucking trenches right now. You're in training. Every setback, every challenge, every moment where you feel stuck and pissed off. It's part of God's plan to sharpen you into the man you need to be. But most people, they fail. They tap out. They start crying. Why me? They start blaming God, whining like little bitches instead of embracing the grind. And that's why they stay stuck. That's why most people never taste greatness. They don't have the patience. They don't have the balls to trust God's timing. You need to wake the hell up and realize something. If you don't have it yet, it's because you're still being built. You're still soft. You're still weak. And if you quit now, you don't just lose the blessing. You lose the transformation that was going to turn you into something unstoppable. Because success isn't just about money, power, or flexing status. It's about becoming the beast who can handle that weight. And the process, it's brutal. It's going to break you down, strip away every weakness, force you to stare at every insecurity, every flaw, every fucking limitation. And that's exactly why you need it. Because when you come out the other side, you won't just have success. You'll be fucking unshakable. But only if you don't quit. Most people are weak. They want it easy. They want shortcuts. They want to close their eyes, wake up tomorrow, and have everything magically fall into place. No discipline, no sacrifice, no years of blood, sweat, and grind. But that's not how God operates. He's not handing out blessings to people who can't handle them. He doesn't reward impatience. He rewards warriors. The ones who trust the process, who bleed for it, who prove they can carry the weight of success without folding. So ask yourself, are you ready for what you're begging for? Really think about it. Have you done the fucking work? Have you paid the price? Or are you just chasing a fantasy thinking success is some gift you deserve without doing the dirty work to sustain it? Because here's the hard truth. The waiting is part of the plan. The delay isn't a no. It's a setup. God isn't holding you back. He's forging you. testing your patience, your faith, your resilience. He's looking to see if you're the kind of man who quits when it gets hard, or if you're the savage who keeps swinging even when the whole world is stacked against him. And that's where most people fail. They hit a few obstacles, and suddenly they think the dream is dead. They convince themselves that success isn't meant for them, and they quit right before the breakthrough. Right before everything was about to click. Right before God was about to open the door. That's the devil playing games with your mind. That's fear whispering in your ear, telling you to settle, telling you to stop, telling you to give up. And most people, they listen. They let doubt win, but not you. Not this time. You're going to trust the process. You're going to stay locked in. You're going to have faith that every hardship, every setback, every painful moment is carving you into the man you need to be. Because if you can't handle the struggle, you don't deserve the success. If you can't embrace the process, you'll never reach the destination. And when you finally get there, when you break through, you'll understand why the wait was necessary. You'll look back at all the frustration, all the pain, all the times you wanted to quit, and you'll realize God knew what he was doing all along. The only question is, are you strong enough to trust him? Because the second you fully commit, the second you stop whining, stop doubting, stop questioning, and start embracing the fucking process, everything changes. You ever think about that? What if everything you're going through right now is exactly what you need? What if the struggle, the delay, the frustration, it's all part of God's plan to make you unstoppable? But instead of trusting him, you're sitting there complaining, doubting, asking, why me? Like some victim. Let me tell you something real. The moment you start questioning the process, you start losing. You let fear creep in. You start thinking maybe you're not meant for this. Maybe it's too hard. Maybe you're wasting your time. That's the biggest fucking lie there is. God isn't punishing you. He's training you, testing your patience, your discipline, your resilience. Because weak men don't win. Weak men break when life gets tough. Weak men take shortcuts, look for easy money, try to cheat the grind. And what happens to them? They fall. They get exposed. They get humbled. You see it every day. Some guy gets lucky, makes a bit of fast money, thinks he's a king. Flexes hard for a few months, and a year later, broke. Humiliated. Because he thought he was ready. He thought he earned it. But God showed him, nah, you don't get to keep what you haven't earned. And that's why the process exists. That's why you're struggling. Because when your time comes, God doesn't want you to just touch success. He wants you to keep it. He wants you to be a fucking monster who can carry the weight without breaking. But most people don't have the patience for that. They want the reward without the sacrifice. They want the victory without the fight. But let me tell you something. There's no shortcut to greatness. You can try to skip the line, try to force it before it's time, but it'll break you because success isn't just about getting it. It's about being strong enough to sustain it. That's why it's taking time. That's why it's hard. Not because you're being denied, but because you're being prepared. And if you quit now, if you break down and give up just because it's taking longer than you expected, you don't fucking deserve it. Period. Listen to me. The wait is a blessing. The obstacles are a gift. Every moment you struggle, you're being forged into someone greater. God is watching. He's testing you. Are you still grinding when no one's watching? Are you still disciplined when nothing's moving? Are you still believing in yourself when life is screaming at you to quit? That's the test. That's what separates killers from cowards. The strong from the weak. The ones who trust the process from the ones who fold under pressure. And let me tell you this. Everything changes the moment you stop doubting, stop resisting, and start embracing the struggle. Because that's where champions are made. You think a warrior walks into battle with a sword and just wins? No, he trains, he suffers. He sharpens his mind, strengthens his body, learns to fight. He bleeds in training so he doesn't die in battle. That's you right now. This hell you're walking through, that's your training ground. Every failure, every setback, every gut-wrenching moment where you feel like giving up, that's the fire forging you into a weapon. And when God looks at you and finally says, now you're ready, that's when the door opens. But if you quit now, if you walk away from the grind, you forfeit the blessing. You abandon the process that was meant to build you into the man you need to be. And you don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be the man who reaches the end of his life and realizes he folded too soon. That he let fear, impatience, and weakness rob him of the future he could have had. That regret, That's poison. Knowing the door was right there, but you were too soft to walk through it. But that's not going to be you. You're not that man. You're the man who wakes up tomorrow and trusts the process. The man who stops questioning God's timing and starts working like success is already his. Because that's what faith is. It's knowing without a shadow of doubt that everything you're doing right now is leading you exactly where you're meant to be. And when you finally get there, when it clicks, when you break through, when you look back and realize every second of pain had a purpose, you'll understand why the wait was necessary. Because success isn't just about the win. It's about who you become on the way to it. So let me ask you straight up. Are you ready to trust God's plan? Or are you going to let doubt rob you of your future? Because the ones who make it, they don't question the grind. They don't resist the process. They embrace it. Have you ever stopped and asked yourself, why doesn't God just hand it to you? Why doesn't he just give you the win the second you ask? Why does every step feel like a fucking war? Like you're being tested and broken down over and over? You know why? Because God doesn't want you weak. He doesn't want you soft. He doesn't want you getting to the top just to crumble the second life punches you in the mouth. He's building you, breaking you down to build you stronger, smashing your weaknesses so when you finally reach that top, you're unshakable. You're a savage who earned his place, who can hold the weight without flinching. That's why it's hard. That's why it feels like hell. Toil. Because he's preparing you to not just touch success, but to dominate it, to own it, to keep it. So stop whining. Stop doubting. Stop playing small. Trust the pain. Embrace the grind. Be the man who earns his victory, or get ready to live the rest of your life wondering what could have been. Weak men think success is about cash, fame, power, fast cars, big houses, and flexing for attention. But strong men, they know the truth. Success is about transformation. It's about becoming the kind of man who can carry the weight of responsibility, leadership, and discipline without folding like a little bitch. And the only way to become that man, the process, the grind, the suffering, that's what separates winners from losers. That's what weeds out the men who say they want it but aren't willing to bleed for it. Because here's the truth. You can't fake greatness. You can't cheat the process. You either put in the work, pay the price, and become the man who deserves success, or you stay stuck in the same cycle of mediocrity for the rest of your life. Simple. And let me tell you something about God. He doesn't make mistakes. If he hasn't given it to you yet, there's a reason. You're still soft. You still have weaknesses to kill off. You still have discipline to build. You still have lessons to learn. You're not ready. And that's the truth most people don't want to hear. Most of you would rather blame bad luck. Blame your parents. Blame society. Blame the system. Anything to avoid looking in the fucking mirror. But none of that changes reality. Reality is brutal. Reality is this: if you're not winning, it's because you're not ready to win. And instead of crying about it, you should be grateful. Yeah, I said it. Grateful. Because when God makes you wait, when he makes you struggle, when he makes you crawl through hell, it's because he's building you into someone who will never lose again. But most people are too weak to see it. They cry about how unfair life is. Why is this happening to me? They ask, playing victim, begging for sympathy. Wrong question. The real question is, what is God trying to teach me? That's the shift. That's the difference between staying stuck and breaking through. Because this process, it's not just about stacking cash or hitting status. It's about earning wisdom, real wisdom. The kind that only comes from pain, from mistakes, from walking through fire and coming out forged and unbreakable. You ever notice how the people who had everything handed to them always end up broken? Athletes who blow millions and go broke. Celebrities who overdose. Rich kids who inherit wealth and lose it all because they never learned how to hold it. You think that's just bad luck? Hell no. It's because they never went through the process. They skipped the struggle. And because they skipped it, they never learned how to hold on to what they had. They never learned how to fight to keep it. And when life came swinging, they crumbled. That's what God is protecting you from. He's making sure that when success comes, it stays. He's making sure that when he blesses you, you don't fumble it like a weak, unprepared fool. And if that means you've got to suffer a little longer, then so be it. If that means you've got to bleed more, break more, struggle more, then that's what it takes. Because God is more interested in your strength than your comfort. He doesn't care if you're comfortable. He cares if you're ready. And this right now. This is where most people fail. This is where most people tap out. Not because they're incapable, not because they don't have potential, but because they refuse to trust the process. They refuse to suffer. They refuse to embrace the pain that's designed to make them stronger. So they stay weak, they stay stuck. They stay broke spiritually and financially because they didn't have the balls to stay in the fight. But that's not going to be you. You're not going to quit. You're going to bleed, you're going to sweat, you're going to cry, and you're going to trust the process because that's what it takes to be great. Let me tell you something. Most people lose right before they were about to fucking win. You know how many times I've watched guys quit at the last second, 1 month away from breaking through, 1 year away from success, and they fold. They lose faith. They let frustration break them. They walk away from the very thing God was about to hand them. Don't be that guy. Don't be the man who lets doubt steal his future. Don't be the coward who lets emotions control him and walks away from what was meant to be his. Because God doesn't promise you an easy road. He doesn't promise comfort. But he does promise that if you keep going, if you refuse to quit, you will win. The only question is, are you willing to keep going when it feels like nothing's working? When it feels like the whole world is stacked against you? Are you willing to stay disciplined when nobody's watching, when there's no applause, no recognition? Are you willing to trust that every struggle, every setback, every painful moment is part of God's way of molding you into a savage who can handle success without folding? Because if you are, if you refuse to break, if you stare down the process and say, fuck it, bring it on, then you are unstoppable. And that's exactly what God wants you to be. Unstoppable, unshakable, unbreakable. Now ask yourself, what's it going to be? Are you going to be another weak man who quits? Another excuse maker who lets his emotions dictate his future? Or are you going to rise up, crush the doubt, trust the process, and step into the future God already lined up for you? Because that choice, that decision, it's yours. This is the battlefield. This is where the weak fall and the strong rise. This is where God watches to see what the hell you're really made of. Right now, in this very moment, you've got a decision to make. Are you going to trust God's plan for you? Or are you going to let fear, doubt, and impatience rob you of everything you've been grinding for? Because here's the truth. God doesn't need you to understand the process. He doesn't need your approval. He needs your trust. You think you've been waiting too long? You think this pain is unfair? You think this struggle is unnecessary? God knows exactly what he's doing. He knows what kind of fire you need to walk through to come out stronger. He knows what weaknesses need to be burned off you. He knows what lessons you need to learn, what suffering will shape you, and he knows the exact moment to drop that blessing on you. But you're either going to trust that or break under it. You're either going to embrace the pain or let it crush you. Because the moment you quit, the moment you fold, the moment you start questioning the process, you lose. But if you stay locked in, if you keep swinging even when your arms feel broken, if you refuse to let go, that's when you win. That's when God looks at you and says, now you're ready. So, are you ready to trust him? Or are you going to let your weakness steal your future? The choice is yours. The only thing stopping you from winning is you, your doubt, your impatience, your inability to see that the delay isn't punishment. It's a blessing. Every second you waste whining, why isn't this happening yet, is a second you could be grinding. Becoming the man who's actually ready to carry the weight of success. Because let me hit you with reality. If success was handed to you right now, could you handle it? Really? Could you carry the weight of responsibility, discipline, and relentless pressure that comes with it? Most people think they're ready, but they're not. They can't even control their own emotions, their habits, their discipline. That's why God makes you wait. That's why he puts you through the fire. So when success finally hits, you don't fold under it like a weak little boy. You ever wonder why God took his time elevating some of the greatest men in history? Moses wandered the wilderness for 40 years before he was ready to lead. Lauren. Joseph, sold into slavery, thrown in prison, beaten down before he became second in command of Egypt. David was anointed king as a boy, but spent years running, struggling, surviving before he ever touched the throne. Why? Because God doesn't put unprepared men in positions of power. Weak men can't carry that weight. If you're still in the struggle, still waiting, still fighting, good. That means God is still preparing you. You're still being sharpened, still being built. And here's the truth you don't want to hear. The only way you lose is if you quit too soon. If you let frustration lie to you. If you let impatience convince you that the process isn't working. if you let emotions make you walk away from something that's already yours. You just haven't grown into it yet. The real test isn't whether or not you can handle success. The real test is whether you can handle waiting for it. Can you stay disciplined when nothing's moving? Can you keep grinding when doubt is screaming in your ear? Can you stay locked in when there's no finish line in sight? Because if you can do that, if you can trust the process when it feels like the world is against you, then let me tell you something for the last time. God knows best. He's never late. He's never wrong. He sees the entire picture while you're crying over one tiny piece. And if you can have the strength to trust him, to embrace the struggle, to keep pushing when it feels pointless, then success isn't a matter of if. It's a matter of when. So what's it going to be? You going to keep doubting? Keep resisting? Keep letting frustration own you? Or are you going to wake up tomorrow and say, God, I trust you. I trust the process. And I'm going to keep going no matter what. Because that moment, that's when everything changes. That's when the struggle stops being your enemy and becomes your greatest advantage. That's when you stop fighting the fire and start using it to forge yourself into something unstoppable. Because the ones who win in life, they don't run from the process. They don't cry about the wait. They embrace it. They own it. They bleed for it. And if you can do the same, if you can stay in the fire long enough, if you can trust God's timing, then one day, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but one day you'll look back and say, now I understand